Let's talk about voice. If you stick around to the end of the video, I will tell you how I ended up standing on top of that mountain in Montana. But for now, I really want to talk specifically about the importance of voice and using your voice on your healing journey, on your growth journey. It is not to be neglected. If you're curious where I'm headed, I'm driving from Cottonwood to Sedona right now. I'm going to help out a friend. Actually, my breathwork teacher, Anahata, we're going to do some photos there. That's one of the many things I get myself involved in is video and photo work. But if you're curious, yeah, I do those ohms probably daily when I'm driving. I don't think this is the right video to start spouting off about frequency and vibration, but physiologically, your vagus nerve that comes out of your head and comes down around your jaw and then goes down and innervates all of your organs. When you do things like that, the ohms, or you use your voice and you learn how to push, or I should say how to soften your voice down into your chest and even closer to your diaphragm rather than being way up here in your throat, it can be very stimulating to the vagus nerve and have a broad range of effects, positive effects on your digestion, on your overall state of your nervous system. So if you're a protocol type person and you want to ask me a question about like how many to do or for how long, you can put that in the comments. I actually want to talk more about though using voice and narrative to try to unload some of the weight that we're carrying when we're going on a healing journey, when we're trying to get to know ourselves a little bit better. So in previous videos I've talked about doing a psilocybin journey and being shown that I was carrying a pretty large amount of trauma from some experiences when I was a young person, around 8 or 9. And in that journey I was told, like, hey, you're carrying all of this stuff around with you. You're gonna need to do whatever's necessary to get this out of your body, to remove this interference that you're currently having in your vitality. And the way that I interpreted that was, and I'm not going to tell you this is the only way, but I was like, I think I need to talk about all this stuff. It's like trapped in there. So that's really what I set out to do. Thought really hard about any weight I was carrying from past experiences that were involving like another person wronging, I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but like another person having an effect on me. And I also thought really hard about times where I had acted sort of out of alignment with who I feel I am at like a soul level, you know, like at times I fucked up. And as you could probably imagine, I identified a lot of them. So for about a year, from 2020 to 2021, I had this invisible quest. When I say invisible, I mean it's not like I was talking to other people about it. I didn't tell anybody about this. I'm not saying it's bad if you do, but I had this quest to speak about all of those things that had piled up on my character and felt like they weren't serving me, more than they were getting in the way of me serving others. And I just started having conversations. One of the biggest ones that I had was with my mom. So she was involved in some of the incidents that I witnessed, and I had to sit there and bawl my eyes out and talk to her about how powerless I felt to help her in some of these turbulent times in my childhood. And I had to tell her what that did to me. And I also had to look her in the face and see what that did to her with me talking about it. And it wasn't pretty, but we got through it, and our relationship improved because of it. So there's those things where it's just sharing, like, hey, this is kind of what happened with little Nate back in the day, and I think some of this stuff is still here. And you know what I really found in having those conversations is the more that I spoke about these issues, the less of a response I would have in my nervous system and in my body when I would speak about them. The first time I ever talked about it, I sobbed, and I had a hard time even finding the words. I bet if you have something like this inside of you, you're already starting to feel that weird pit that forms in your neck. That reconnects us to this idea of voice. That's a blockage. that thing that you feel, you're pushing down something that wants to come out. So having those conversations started to remove the blockage, so much so that like my voice started to change. I used to have a little bit more of and I'm getting over a cold right now, so it may sound nasally, but I had a much more nasally, and my pitch was higher. And as I became more at peace with some of these things and integrated some of these things that happened to me, my voice deepened and it started to come from down here. Now, I also, like I said, went about having conversations where I was the one in the wrong. One that's, it seems trivial, but it's also like really symbolic and I think metaphorical, and you can probably draw a parallel in your own life. I was a hockey player growing up, and as you would imagine, because you spend so much time together with your teammates, one of my best friends was my line mate, and he was an incredible player. He was such a hard worker and was really like responsible for a lot of the success that I had as a player. And back then I was not a confident person, and I was a pretty shitty leader. And so I was captain of our team, but I was the most unembodied captain you can imagine. I cared about things like flash and stats, you know, goals, assists, how dumb I could make the other team look. And I didn't really focus all that much attention on communicating with my teammates and making sure that they felt supported and sacrificing for the betterment of the team. So I'm sitting here years and years later trying to unload some of this weight, thinking about who the person is that I want to become. And I'm like, I really feel like I have the capacity to be a great leader. And my peer self said, well, what are some examples of times that you weren't? You need to remove those narratives from your body. This came up right away. So like I said, I had this good friend on the team. We played together on a line. We were magic together. And he assisted on like all my goals. I assisted on all of his. It was so fun, but like I said, I overvalued the statistics, and I was one of those guys back then who I would track every single point, every goal, every assist. I had a little, I had our game schedule like on my fridge at home, and I'd write down at the end of the game, this is how many goals, this is how many assists. So the end of the season came, and our coach called, and he was really excited. He wanted to share with me. He said, hey Nate, I've really enjoyed coaching you this year. I really think you have a bright future. And I wanted to let you know that you're gonna be the MVP. You're gonna receive that award at our team banquet or whatever at the end of the year. And again, back to not confident, disembodied self. Instead of just humbly saying thank you and thanking him for everything he taught me, I said, well, what about the points leader, or what? I don't even know what you call that. You know, highest score or whatever. And he said, oh, your friend Dan, he had one more point than you. He had. I don't know, I don't even remember what the points were. Let's say he had 41 points and you had 40. And instead of just shutting the hell up and going, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of him, I'm so glad I got to play with him, he deserves this, I said, Coach, I got to tell you, I've been keeping track at home, and I had 45 points. These refs are terrible. They don't keep track of the assists very well. I can show you all the records. So what we ended up doing is we made it a tie, where him and I received the same amount of points. But officially, he had more. And I didn't tell him this, and it sat inside my consciousness for years until 2020. And I'm trying to surface all this stuff that I had done that was not in alignment with who I want to be. And I go, holy shit, I have to tell Dan that I totally screwed him on this points leader thing. It's so trivial, yet it seems important. So I had that conversation. I brought it up, and we were sitting around a fire up north together. We're still good friends. And I said, hey, I got to tell you this terrible thing that I did that's really been weighing on me for a long time, and I just have never talked about it. And I told him the whole story, and he was like, Nate, I really, it doesn't bother me at all, and I forgive you, and I thank you for, you know, like saying this stuff, but you didn't need to say that. But really I did. It was super important to me to speak about that and remove that guilt and shame. Talk about it, own it, say, hey, this is who I was and this is who I'm trying to be. What I started to find is I'm on this physical health journey. I'm trying to piece myself back together in that regard. And I started to find that my emotional health was one with my physical health. So at the beginning, I was really all about searching. You know, I hired a dietitian, and she was helping me figure out the right and wrong foods to eat, and helped me try to figure out my gut health and all these different things. But I also had this voice inside me that said there's an emotional component to this, and you need to start speaking about and healing from all of these past experiences. They are one. That's really, if you're watching this video, that's what I want you to wrap your head around. If you have unease in your gut, somewhere in your body, it is very likely that even if an emotional incident didn't cause it, emotional incidences could be blocking it from restoring flow. Now, like I said, there's probably many ways to do this, but I want you to think really hard about stories and narratives and experiences that you've had, and think, have I talked about this? Has this just been stored inside me? And if the answer to that is yes, I really encourage you to speak about it. Could be to your best friend, could be to a therapist. I don't really care. That's up to you. The real key is taking it from something that's been shoved down into your body to letting it flow through your voice. Okay, we're here at Shine. This is where I did my breathwork training. Hi, Ashlyn. How you doing? Good. Good to see you. You too. Wow.
Oh, look at this guy.
Wow. Look at these guys. What are we doing? Look at that. Awesome.
Still need one of those.
What's that? This? I know. We're gonna make that happen. Do most vertical for a lot of these.
Yeah.
But you want some of these horizontal, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but mostly vertical.
All
Just
vertical's
'cause,
fine
yeah,
with me.
yeah, that's great.
Okay, we'll do all
I
vertical.
mean, we can do one or two just so we can put it on the website, horizontal,
Sounds good.
of like the group, and then behind the scenes, and then probably some video just of the altar once we get. I mean, you know, just of the altar. Oh my God!
Yeah, what feels right? That looks pretty good, yeah. Okay, I'm filming right now. I was doing a slow-mo. Okay, that was that. Say hi to Ashlyn. Hi. I'm vlogging my day. Okay, have a great day. I told you I'd explain how I wound up on that farm way up on that mountain in Montana. So that was one of my Landio trips. So the job that I got to move me out here to Arizona, because I'm originally from Michigan, I got a job for this company who uses YouTube videos to sell land. And it was super cool in the regard that I got to go to all these really beautiful places. One I even went to British Columbia and fly drones and take videos and meet cool people. So I was leaving British Columbia. This was in September of like 22, 23, one of the two. And my boss called. I'm on my way to the airport, and he says, hey, you feel like changing your flight and going to Montana instead of coming home? And I was like, all right. So I didn't really know much about what we were shooting, but it ended up being this massive $17 million dairy farm. And I met this incredible guy there. His name was Bart, who was just salt to the earth person. We really hit it off. He showed me around his entire farm, and one of the last things we did is we went way up on that beautiful rolling hills overlooking the river, and just, it was so incredible. One of those times where you really look back at sort of where you've been and pinch yourself going, man, I was praying to just be able to like see straight only a year ago, months ago. So I was super thankful to have that experience, and that is where those beautiful images came from. Speaking of, I'm going to send you off with some, so I hope you enjoy them. I'll see you guys next time.